The rumble of his Harley echoed through the quiet mountain road, slicing through the misty dawn like a growl from his own restless soul. Chase Rogue Daniels wasn't riding toward anything, he was just riding away. Away from the noise of his past, the scars of brotherhood gone wrong, and the hollow silence that came after his club disbanded. The patch on his jacket, once a proud symbol of loyalty, was now just a faded ghost of what used to be home. He had no destination, no plan, just the endless road under his wheels and the ache of loneliness sitting heavy on his chest. That morning, as the sun began to spill gold over the pine trees, he slowed near a small, forgotten village at the edge of nowhere. The sound of his bike startled a few crows from a nearby field, but what caught his eye wasn't the birds, it was the sight of an old woman in a torn shawl struggling to lift a heavy bundle of firewood. She was bent low, her frail hands trembling, her back arched like time itself had been cruel. Chase could have just passed by. He usually did. The world had taught him to keep to himself, but helping always came with a cost. But something about the sight stopped him. Maybe it was the way she refused to give up, even as she stumbled. Maybe it was because he'd once watched his own mother fight the same losing battle against hardship, but he turned the bike around. Gravel crunched under his boots as he approached her. "Need a hand, ma'am?" he asked, his voice gruff, unsure. The woman looked up, blinking against the light. "You're not from here," she said softly. "You look like trouble." He gave a dry smile. "Ain't wrong about that." She hesitated, then nodded toward the pile of wood. "If trouble's got strong arms, I'll take it." He helped her carry the logs up a narrow dirt path to a small wooden cabin. It was old but clean, smoke rising faintly from a crooked chimney. Inside, the air smelled of herbs and something baking, simple, comforting. He noticed how neat everything was, how carefully she'd made do with so little. She introduced herself as Martha. She lived alone. Her husband had died years ago, her children had left for the city, and the world had quietly moved on without her. Chase didn't say much. He wasn't good at talking. But he fixed the broken door hinge, stacked her wood properly, and even replaced a few boards on her porch without her asking. "Don't you have somewhere to be?" she asked when he finished. He shrugged. "Nowhere that matters." She studied him for a long moment. "Then stay for supper." "It's the least I can do." That evening, they sat by the fire, the only sound the soft crackle of burning wood. She told him stories about her late husband who rode an old Indian motorcycle, about the days when love was simpler and promises meant something. Chase listened, really listened, for the first time in years. When he left that night, he felt lighter somehow. He didn't understand why, but he found himself coming back the next day. And the next days turned into weeks. He chopped wood, repaired her fence, and fixed her leaky roof. She cooked for him, teased him, told him to shave. He never did. Slowly, the silence that had once filled his life began to soften, but one evening, as the first snow fell, Martha collapsed while making tea. Panic surged through him. He'd faced bar fights, accidents, near-death rides, but nothing terrified him like seeing her still on that floor. He carried her to his bike, rode through the storm like a madman, and reached the nearest hospital 20 miles away. The doctors said she had pneumonia, that it was a miracle he got her there in time. Chase sat in that waiting room all night, his hands trembling, his old demons whispering that everyone he cared about always left. When she finally woke, weak but smiling, she took his hand. "You remind me of my son," she whispered. "He stopped visiting long ago. I prayed for someone to look after me before it was too late. God sent me you, didn't he?" Chase didn't know what to say. He'd never been anyone's miracle. When she was discharged, he brought her home and stayed by her side. Days grew colder, but the house never felt warmer. Martha often talked about faith, forgiveness, and second chances, things Chase had long given up on. Slowly, he started to believe her, but one morning, she didn't wake up. She passed peacefully in her sleep, her hands folded over her chest, a faint smile on her face. Chase sat beside her for hours, silent, his heart heavier than ever but somehow full at the same time. She'd left a note on the table. "Rogue, I don't know what pain you carry, but I see the good man beneath it. This house is yours now. Don't run anymore. Build something here. You saved me more than you'll ever know." Months later, the sound of a Harley once again echoed through the valley, but this time, it wasn't lonely. Chase had turned the cabin into a small roadside shelter for lost riders. A sign by the gate read, "Martha's Place, for those who need a second chance." He still wore his old jacket, but now, beside the faded patch of the Hells Angels, he'd stitched another, a small embroidered angel with silver wings, and when travelers asked why he stayed in a nowhere town, he'd smile and say, "Because once, an old woman showed me that even the roughest roads can lead you home." The biker who once had nothing found his purpose not through speed, freedom, or rebellion, but through kindness. Sometimes the most unbelievable miracles come from the smallest acts of compassion. And that, in the end, became his road to redemption, a lonely angel finally finding peace. Snow blanketed the mountains like a whisper from heaven, soft and endless. The cabin windows glowed faintly against the cold, a beacon in the wilderness. Chase Rogue Daniels sat in Martha's old rocking chair, staring into the fire. It had been 3 months since she passed, but her presence lingered in every corner, the hand-stitched curtains, the tea set she'd always used, the faint scent of lavender still clinging to the air. The note she left him was folded neatly in his jacket pocket, the words burned into his heart, "Don't run anymore. Build something here." He had done just that. The road outside, once just a lonely stretch of cracked asphalt, had started bringing riders, men and women who, like him, were running from something. They came for the warmth, the food, and the peace that Martha's Place offered. But most of all, they came for the feeling they couldn't name, the sense that someone cared. Chase never charged them. He didn't need to. The gratitude in their eyes was payment enough. One afternoon, a young rider arrived, barely 20, all tattoos and anger, his eyes full of the same emptiness Chase once knew too well. His name was Kyle. His bike was old and broken, his knuckles bloodied from a fight he refused to talk about. Chase helped him fix the bike without asking questions. Later, they sat by the fire in silence until the boy finally muttered, "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me."